The police station smelled of burnt coffee, disinfectant, and the faint musk of impatience. Harsh fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, flickering faintly, casting long shadows across the scuffed linoleum floors. 13-year-old Leah Carter sat in a cold, hard plastic chair, gripping the straps of her worn backpack so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her jeans were streaked with mud, her shoes caked in dirt, and her eyes were red from crying. Not from guilt, but from fear. Two police officers leaned against the counter, smirking, a stale sense of superiority radiating from them. "So," one said, voice dripping with condescension, "you're telling us, your mom is a Navy SEAL?" Leah swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." The other officer laughed, loud enough for the small room to echo with derision. "Sweetheart, the Navy doesn't make SEALs out of soccer moms." A chuckle ran down the hall, carried by the hollow air. Leah felt her stomach knot. Her mother wasn't a joke. She wasn't a fantasy. Chief Petty Officer Angela Carter was a decorated Navy SEAL, one of the few black women in her unit, and currently on leave after a classified mission. But these men had no idea. All Leah wanted was justice. Earlier that day, two boys had cornered her after school, pushed her into a muddy ditch, and stolen her phone. She had run home, shaken, and tried to report it. But the police didn't care, or at least, that's what it felt like. "Maybe call your Navy SEAL mom to pick you up," the first officer sneered, leaning back against the counter. Leah felt the heat rise in her cheeks. "I already did," she whispered, voice trembling. The officer laughed again. "Right, sure. I'll believe it when she comes rappelling through the ceiling." Leah's chest tightened. Every nerve in her body screamed to defend herself, but she kept quiet. She knew arguing wouldn't help. She pressed her forehead against the cool wall behind her and prayed. Her thumbs traced the edges of her backpack straps. She had sent her mother a message, a simple, "Please, Mom. I need you." Minutes ticked by. The officers continued chatting and laughing as if Leah were invisible. They didn't see the way her hands shook, the way her heart raced, the way her mind replayed every lesson her mother had ever taught her about courage and composure. Leah's mother had always said, "Strength isn't the absence of fear. Strength is showing up even when you're terrified." Leah held onto that thought as the officers mocked her further. "You sure you didn't make this up?" one asked, smirking. "I'm serious," she said quietly. The other officer leaned over. "Let's make this clear, kid. You're not in a storybook. Real life isn't going to bend to your fairy tales. The Navy doesn't care about your sob story, and neither do we." Her stomach churned, but Leah refused to cry. She refused to let them see her break. Then, a low rumble echoed outside the station doors. Tires on asphalt. The sound was heavy, deliberate, impossible to ignore. The officers paused, exchanging confused glances. "What now?" one muttered, still chuckling nervously. The rumble grew louder. Headlights cut through the station windows, illuminating the hallway in stark white. A large SUV rolled to a stop outside the entrance. Its engine idled, low and commanding, vibrating through the tiles. Leah's pulse quickened. She recognized that engine. She knew what it meant. "Mom," she whispered under her breath. The doors burst open. Angela Carter stepped inside. Boots hitting the linoleum floor with measured force, eyes sharp and unflinching, her uniform pristine. Her medals gleamed under the fluorescent lights, history in metal, weight in honor. The room froze. Even the radio in the corner seemed to hush in respect. "Where's my daughter?" Angela's voice was calm, low, and precise, a tone that brooked no argument. Leah bolted into her arms. "Mom, they didn't believe me." Angela held her tightly for a moment, inhaling her daughter's scent, steadying her own heartbeat. Then she released Leah just enough to turn toward the officers. You questioned my daughter. Her voice didn't rise, but the entire station seemed to lean in. Ma'am, we didn't, one officer stammered. You mocked her. Angela finished for him. Silence followed. Leah peeked around her mother's shoulder, feeling the shift in the room. The same officers who had laughed moments ago now straightened. Instinct and discipline replaced arrogance. Angela's gaze swept across the room. Do you know what I taught my daughter? The officers looked confused, wary. I taught her to never let anyone make her feel small. To stand tall when the world tells her to kneel. To fight for herself even against adults who think their badges give them power. Leah felt warmth and pride flood through her. Her mother didn't yell. She didn't threaten. But the weight of her presence was enough to make the smug officers realize the gravity of their actions. Angela bent down slightly, her voice softening as she addressed Leah. Show me where it happened, baby. Leah nodded, hope igniting in her chest. I'll show you. The officers scrambled to keep up, now unsure how to behave. The laughter, the mockery, the superiority all gone. Even though Angela hadn't yet raised her voice in anger, her authority spoke louder than any yelling could. It carried discipline, history, and truth. Leah realized in that moment that respect doesn't come from fear, nor does it come from rank alone. It comes from action, integrity, and standing up for what's right no matter the odds. And as she left the station alongside her mother, she knew that for the first time in her life, she wasn't alone. Sometimes, courage arrives on four wheels, boots hitting the floor, and a mother's unwavering resolve ready to remind the world that respect is earned, not given. Angela Carter's boots echoed through the narrow hallway of the precinct, each step commanding attention. The air, once filled with the smugness of complacent officers, now felt tense thick with unspoken authority. Leah trailed behind, her hand gripping her mother's arm. Her heart still pounded, adrenaline racing through her veins. This was the woman who had trained her to fight, to persevere, to never let anyone intimidate her. And now, that very presence was about to change the room forever. Angela didn't speak immediately. She scanned the room, eyes sharp as a hawk, taking in the officers who had mocked her daughter moments ago. Their smiles had vanished, their laughter had turned into nervous coughs. Finally, she broke the silence. You questioned my daughter. The room held its breath. One officer stammered, Ma'am, we didn't. You mocked her, Angela finished, her calm tone slicing through the tension like a knife. Silence fell heavier than any shouting ever could. Leah felt a mix of awe and relief. Her mother's reputation was legendary not just in her Navy SEAL unit but in every story Leah had grown up hearing. Angela had been one of the few black women in her class, navigating the grueling trials, endless drills, and unrelenting expectations of the SEALs. She had endured storms at sea, desert operations, and the harshest physical tests imaginable, all while carrying the weight of proving herself in a world that often refused to see her as equal. Yet here she was, in civilian clothing, commanding authority without raising her voice. Leah remembered the countless nights her mother had returned from missions, exhausted but unbroken, teaching her about discipline, strategy, and resilience. Angela crouched slightly, bringing her face closer to Leah's. Her voice softened. Show me where it happened, baby. Leah swallowed hard and led her to the door. It was behind the school, the boys, they. Angela nodded, not interrupting, letting her daughter speak. They cornered me. Took my phone. I tried to tell the officers, but they didn't believe me. They will now, Angela said simply. Outside, the night was calm but electric. Street lights glimmered off the wet asphalt, casting long reflections. Angela's SUV, the engine low and commanding, had drawn attention from nearby pedestrians. But in her mind, nothing else mattered except protecting her daughter and ensuring justice. They drove to the school, the headlights cutting through the darkness like twin swords. Angela's presence made Leah feel safe, invincible even. She had always known her mother was strong, but tonight, that strength was a shield not just for her but for truth itself. At the school, Angela's flashlight swept across the muddy field where the boys had ambushed Leah. Within minutes, she located the dropped phone case and tire tracks, tangible evidence the officers had ignored. She handed the phone to the captain who had followed them. "This is what listening looks like," she said. Back at the station, the officers were still recovering from their own shock. They had never encountered a woman like Angela Carter, a person whose authority was absolute without intimidation, whose reputation preceded her but whose presence confirmed it. "You see," Angela said, turning to face them, "you assumed my daughter was lying because of her age, her appearance, her voice. That's a mistake I hope you never repeat. Strength doesn't announce itself with words. It acts. And sometimes it acts in silence." Leah watched her mother command the room, every officer frozen in their own realization. The same woman who tucked her into bed every night had endured the deadliest oceans, survived operations others wouldn't even dream of, and now, she was teaching the men in uniform a lesson in respect. Leah realized something profound. Respect doesn't come from fear. It doesn't come from rank. It comes from action, discipline, and unwavering integrity. Angela leaned down, resting a hand on Leah's shoulder. "You see, baby, courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is showing up anyway." Leah nodded, her fear replaced with pride and understanding. She had learned it in whispers and lessons, but now she saw it in action. Her mother wasn't just a hero in uniform, she was a hero in life. As they left the precinct that night, Leah glanced back. The officers sat quietly, some looking embarrassed, others reflective. No one dared mock her or speak condescendingly. The power of presence had done what words could not. Leah realized this was bigger than a single incident. It was a lesson she would carry forever. Some people need to see strength to respect it. Some people need a reminder that courage doesn't have a uniform, and respect isn't given, it's earned through action. Angela looked down at her daughter, her voice softer now but no less firm. "You're stronger than you know. Never let anyone make you feel less than you are. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever." Leah smiled faintly, feeling the truth of those words in her chest. She had survived mockery before, but now she had something greater: a mother's unwavering support and the knowledge that standing tall was sometimes the only way to make people listen. By morning, the story would begin spreading beyond the precinct walls. And the lesson Angela Carter taught that night? Respect is earned, courage is inherited, and sometimes the world needs a Navy SEAL to remind them of it. By morning, the precinct was quieter than usual. The lingering tension from the night before still hung in the air, like a fog refusing to lift. The officers who had mocked Leah avoided eye contact, shuffling papers and pretending to be busy. But Angela Carter didn't let them hide. She arrived at the station again, this time fully prepared for the lesson that had to be taught. Her boots echoed sharply on the linoleum floors, commanding attention without a single raised voice. Even the captain, normally reserved, felt a ripple of unease in her presence. "You know why I'm here," Angela said calmly, her tone low but authoritative. "It's not just about your behavior yesterday. It's about every time someone like my daughter walks into your station and you dismiss them because of age, race, or gender. That ends now." The officers exchanged nervous glances. A few coughed. One muttered, "Yes, ma'am." Angela's eyes swept the room. "Yesterday, I had to show up for my daughter. Today, I'm here to show you why respect matters. Do you understand that?" They nodded, though some hesitated. "Good," she said. "Let's start with the facts. 2 boys assaulted my daughter. They stole her phone. She reported it, and yet the officers here did nothing." The room went silent. Some officers shifted uncomfortably, realizing the weight of her words. Angela's gaze didn't waver. I have spent years in the most dangerous environments imaginable. I've faced storms at sea, hostile territories, and impossible missions. And I've learned one thing: respect is earned, and accountability is essential. It is not optional. It is not negotiable. She stepped closer to the group. Your job is not just to wear a badge. It is to protect. To listen. To act. You failed yesterday. The air grew heavy. Officers who had mocked Leah a night ago now squirmed, their silence louder than any apology. Angela turned to Leah. Show them the evidence, baby. Leah walked confidently to the front, pulling out her phone and pointing to the photos she had taken immediately after the incident: the muddy ditch, the scuffed shoes of the boys, the traces of the phone's case. She handed it to the captain. These are the facts, Leah said, voice trembling slightly but firm. This is what I told you yesterday. And this is why I needed my mom. Angela let her daughter speak, proud. Then she addressed the officers again. Do you see now? When you dismiss someone, you are failing your duty. You are failing the people you swore to protect. One of the younger officers finally muttered, Ma'am, we understand now. We'll do better. Angela's eyes softened slightly, but her voice remained steady. Understanding is not enough. Action is required. You must learn to see beyond assumptions, beyond stereotypes. Every person who walks through your doors deserves to be heard. Later that day, Angela drove Leah to the school, retracing the path of the earlier incident. They found the boys waiting, their parents beside them. Angela didn't shout, she didn't raise her voice, but her presence alone silenced the group. You boys made a mistake, Angela said calmly. You attacked someone smaller than you, thinking it would make you stronger. It didn't. What makes a person strong is respect for themselves, for others, and for those around them. She handed the phone back to Leah. You return this, and you apologize to her. Now. The boys muttered embarrassed apologies, their parents nodding solemnly. Angela didn't linger. She had said her piece. Her lesson had been delivered. Leah turned to her mother. Mom, you didn't have to come. They were already scared of you. Angela smiled faintly. It's not about scaring them, baby. It's about making sure they know what respect looks like. By the evening, word of the incident began spreading beyond the school and precinct. A local reporter caught wind of it and interviewed Leah and Angela. The story quickly went viral. Black Navy SEAL mom teaches lesson to police officers after daughter is mocked. The clip showed Angela calmly addressing the officers, her medals gleaming, her posture commanding. Leah's brief testimony highlighted her bravery and the injustice she had faced. Comments flooded in. Every child deserves a mother like that. This is how authority should be exercised. Angela Carter is a true hero. Leah couldn't stop smiling. For the first time, she felt seen, truly seen. Not just by her mother, but by the world. That night, as Angela tucked Leah into bed, her voice softer than it had been all day, she whispered, Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is showing up even when everyone doubts you. Leah nodded, hugging her mother tightly. She understood now that strength didn't always roar, sometimes it arrived silently, in boots, uniform, and unwavering resolve. And as the news spread nationwide, one lesson became clear: some people need a reminder that respect isn't given. It is earned, it is demonstrated, and sometimes, it takes a Navy SEAL mom to teach it. By the next morning, Leah's story would be on every local news channel, inspiring kids, parents, and even the officers themselves. And Angela Carter's lesson? It was only just beginning. By the next morning, Leah's story had spread like wildfire. Local news stations covered the incident. The headline flashed across screens. Black Navy SEAL mom teaches lesson to police officers after daughter mocked. Social media erupted. Clips of Angela's calm authority, her commanding presence, and Leah's brave testimony went viral. Comments poured in, "Every mom should be this fearless. Angela Carter is a real-life superhero. Respect isn't given, it's demonstrated." Leah scrolled through her phone, eyes wide. She had never imagined that what happened in that precinct would resonate with so many people. Messages from kids, parents, and even officers came in, all praising her and her mother. The precinct itself felt the change. The captain publicly acknowledged their failure, issuing a statement. "We failed to protect a child yesterday. We have learned from this incident and are implementing new training protocols to ensure every child is heard and respected." Even the officers who had laughed at Leah now approached her with quiet apologies. The lessons Angela had delivered both with words and presence left a permanent mark. Angela didn't let the praise distract her. She remained focused on Leah. That afternoon, they walked to the park where Leah had often played, hand in hand. "Mom," Leah asked softly, "were you scared walking into that station?" Angela smiled faintly. "Of course I was. But courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is showing up, even when fear is there. And sometimes, showing up is the only way to make people listen." Leah hugged her mother tightly. "I want to be brave like you." "You already are," Angela said. "You stood up, told the truth, and didn't back down. I just made sure the world saw it too." A week later, Angela was invited to speak at the police academy's ethics seminar. Her message was simple but powerful. Respect every voice that walks through your doors. Do not judge by age, race, or gender. Courage and integrity come in many forms. Sometimes they arrive as a 13-year-old girl or a Navy SEAL mother. Leah sat in the front row, beaming. She realized that her mother's lesson went far beyond her own situation. It was about reshaping the way people perceived strength, authority, and respect. Months passed. Leah's story continued to inspire. She was invited to speak at schools, community centers, and youth programs about standing up for oneself and demanding respect. Angela, meanwhile, resumed her duties in the Navy with pride, knowing she had made an indelible impact both at home and in the community. One evening, as they sat together watching the sunset from their porch, Leah reflected on everything that had happened. "Mom, do you think they really understand now?" Angela looked at her daughter with a calm intensity. "Some will. Some won't. But the lesson isn't for them alone. It's for everyone watching and for you. You carry this with you. Never let anyone diminish your worth." Leah nodded. She had learned that courage could be quiet but undeniable. That presence could demand respect without a single shout. That sometimes, it took someone extraordinary to teach the world a lesson in humanity. The next day, Leah returned to school. The boys who had attacked her avoided her, humiliated but aware they had crossed a line. Her peers treated her differently now, with curiosity and admiration. She walked the halls with her head held high, not because she had defeated anyone, but because she knew her worth, reinforced by a mother who had taught her the ultimate lesson: strength is action, not appearance, respect is earned, not assumed. At home, Angela pinned a new medal in her study, one that didn't exist physically but lived in the hearts of everyone who had witnessed her courage. Leah placed her backpack down, looking at her mother. "Thanks for showing up," she said. Angela smiled. "I didn't just show up for you. I showed up so the world could see what bravery looks like." And in that moment, Leah understood, true strength wasn't about power, medals, or uniforms. It was about standing for what's right, even when the odds were stacked against you. Respect is not given, it is earned. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's showing up anyway. And sometimes, it takes one person to remind the world how to listen.